friends, welcome back to Carrie's Culinary Crafts. And if you're new, welcome. I hope you hit that subscribe button down below, and then you can follow us all along on all the things that we do food. Today I'm going to go ahead and do some lamb meatballs. I'm going to do it in a sweet and tangy style using like the grape jelly recipe. So I'm getting started a little bit later in the day. I wanted to start them earlier, but just didn't get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with putting the sauce into the crock pot and getting it turned on and heated. Just so it can get started, and then I'll put my meatballs together. So for this recipe, super simple. And you can also use like store-bought frozen meatballs if you'd like. I have 2 pounds of ground lamb here, so I thought that I would go ahead and do like a lamb meatball recipe, and then put it with this sweet and tangy sauce, just because I had that in my freezer up here and I want to go ahead and use it up. So I'm going to do some Greek meatballs. Okay, so for the sauce, all that you need is you need some type of chili sauce, and you need some grape jelly. This is my homemade grape jelly. Any chili sauce will do. A lot of people also use barbecue sauce. You can use that as well. I'm using the chili sauce because it's opened up and it was in my refrigerator. So since it was opened, I want to go ahead and use it. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and spray my crock pot with some avocado oil spray. You can use any type of spray or any type of fat you want. Okay, then I'm just going to go ahead and add in all that is in this chili sauce bottle. There's a little bit left over in there, so I'm just going to put a tiny bit of water, shake it up really good to get all that extra sauce off the sides. And then there's a condiment out of my refrigerator. So then the next thing I'm going to do is add in all of this jelly. Now, if I was doing a full recipe of this, I would need a full big jar of jelly. But I'm only having this recipe because the recipe is for 5 pounds of ground meat, and I'm only using 2. So I'm kind of like halving it. But there's another jar out of my refrigerator. Okay, and then just to add a little bit of heat, because even though that chili sauce is in there, it's not spicy at all. So I like to add just a little extra red pepper flakes in there. And you can add more or less as you'd like. It is just my husband and I today, so we like spice. So I added quite a bit. Now I'm just going to go ahead and give this a stir. And then I'm going to go ahead and get it turned on. And like I said, I'm going to turn this on high because I'm getting started later in the day. So I am actually going to make the meatballs, cook the meatballs in the oven, and then add them to the crock pot. And then it'll all be all, you know, yummy by the time that we want to eat. Okay, so for the meatballs, okay, for the meatballs, we will need whatever kind of ground meat you are using. Like I said, I'm doing ground lamb, so I'm doing lamb spices. If you want to do Italian meatballs, do ground beef and then use your Italian spices. You know, whatever you'd like. So for the spices that I'm going to use for my meatballs, is salt and pepper, paprika, smoked paprika, onion powder, garlic powder. Those are your normal spices. And then my homegrown herbs that I'm using is parsley, rosemary, tarragon, and sage. And then I'm also using some breadcrumbs. Now I had 3 pieces of this tomato basil homemade bread left. So I am going to crunch that up, and that will be my breadcrumbs in it. So I was going to stick it in the freezer, and I thought, well, hey, I need breadcrumbs for these meatballs. So let me just, and because it was still fresh, I toasted it first, so I'm going to be able to crunch it up really good. So, so instead of sticking it in the freezer, I went ahead and I'm going to use them for these meatballs. All right, so let's get started. Okay, here is the lamb. We get it from a local farm here. My neighbor actually got this for me when she was there not too long ago. So thank you, Sue, for the ground lamb. And we are going to go ahead and get started. So I'm just going to cut this open. And get that in there. Okay. Oh, I need 2 eggs. Well, actually 1 egg, since I'm doing a half a recipe. So I will do 1 egg. We will do salt, pepper. Now remember, this is 2 pounds, so it looks like a little bit much for a single recipe, but this is a double recipe. Smoked paprika, which is one of my favorite spices. Paprika. Onion powder, and garlic powder. Now, if you want to use fresh onions and garlic, by all means go ahead, and normally I do for meatballs. However, like I said, I'm kind of getting started late in the day, so I'm just using all spices. Okay, parsley. I maybe did, I feel a sneeze coming. Ooh, excuse me, pepper gets me every time. Okay, parsley, that was probably about a teaspoon. And got some rosemary here. I'm just going to squeeze it in my fingers because they are like the whole needles. When you save like spices in their whole form, they keep fresh a lot longer. So I am just breaking them up so we don't have whole needles in our meatballs. Okay, and then just a little bit of tarragon, just a little pinch, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon. And then we got some sage here, and I have whole sage leaves. The same thing, if you keep it whole, it definitely stays fresher longer. So I am just crumbling up the leaves. Smells good. I will do 2 leaves. Okay, and then that is the seasoning for the meatballs. Now I just need to go ahead and crunch up this bread into as small pieces as you can. Doesn't really matter, but you just don't want whole big, you know, pieces of bread. I probably should have toasted this a little bit more, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And I think this might be the only piece I'll need. I'll go ahead and give it a mix and see if I need to add more breadcrumbs or not. And I'm going to have to mix this with one hand, and then I'm cheating to make the meatballs because I'm not going to be able to roll it with this hand, so. Okay. That looks good enough. And that just reminds me, I need to start the oven. I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Okay, and then I'm just going to go ahead and give this a good mix. You want everything thoroughly mixed up. Okay, and I can tell by how wet this is, I am going to need to add a little bit more breadcrumbs. Hi, honey. Okay. Now I got my sheet pan lined with parchment paper. Let's get these out of the way. Hi, honey. Sorry, I didn't know you were back there. Just going to go ahead and do scoops of meatballs. Now they're not going to be perfectly circle meatballs, but I can't roll them with my hand, so they're going to be a little abnormally shaped. That's okay. We're just eating them anyway. You're not here. Now these meatballs aren't going to expand in any way, so it's okay if you kind of crowd them up a little bit on your pan. In fact, they're going to shrink instead of getting bigger. Okay, and then there's our Greek meatballs. Now I'm going to go ahead and cook these at 350 degrees, and I'm going to check them at 20 minutes. And then I'll take the temperature. If they're done, then I'll just pull them out. But if they're not done, then I'll leave them in like in 5-minute increments until they're done. And I'll bring it back whenever I pull them out of the oven. Okay, so I'm checking my meatballs at 20 minutes. Now they should be internal temperature of at least 160. And they definitely are. So they are done. So I'm going to go ahead and add these into my crock pot and give them a good stir. And let them cook in the crock pot for a little bit, and then basically they're ready whenever anybody else is hungry. And I'm going to go ahead and cook some rice in the Instant Pot so we can put the meatballs and sauce over some rice. They smell good. Mm-hmm. They're lamb meatballs. Did I tell you that? Okay, today for dinner we're having sheet pan fajitas. Quick and easy dinner meal. And because I don't have any peppers yet from my garden and I'm not getting to the farmer's market until Tuesday, I'm going to go ahead and use this pepper and onion blend. And I'm going to go ahead and stick this on the sheet pan. Now my son does not like peppers on his fajitas, but he does like onions. So on the other side, I'm going to cook up the last of my frozen onions from last year. So it's a good thing it's harvest time, because this is the last of my white onions from last year. And then I have my marinated steak here that I'm going to go ahead and stick in the center. Okay, and I believe that is it. Sadly, this is that bag that has a hole in it, so I'm gonna toss that. Good thing I just bought myself some new ones. All right, and then that's it. And then when it's time, my husband and son will be here in about 2.5 hours. So this only takes about 20 to 25 minutes tops to cook. And I will go ahead and stick it in the oven whenever they get home. And then we will have our steak fajitas for dinner. Okay, now here I'm just kind of quick throwing together a lunch, and I thought I would throw it in here. I had some leftover peppers from those fajitas, so I went ahead and cooked some of those peppers. I put in some sandwich pepperoni that I had left over, along with some eggs and cheese, and I made us some pepperoni, egg, and cheese sandwiches for lunch for my husband and I on this day. And it turned out delicious. Now I'm making the same thing for myself, but I am making my eggs dippy eggs. I love to have dippy eggs on sandwiches. Call me crazy, I know it's messy, but I love the dippy eggs with it. And I'm putting a fresh tomato on my sandwich as well. I love egg and tomato and mayonnaise together. So it's a staple in our house during the summer when we have fresh tomatoes. And I put some pepperoni on mine as well. And I also pushed those vegetables aside because I'm going to be using that later for dinner. So I have some vegetables in with my eggs, but there was a lot more than enough that I needed. So I just kind of went ahead and cooked them, and then I would just use them in dinner tonight. And as you can see, that big green leaf I put on there is a big basil leaf that I put on top. And there we go. There is my messy sandwich, which is delicious. Okay, now it is dinner time, and I am going to go ahead and cut up some of my herb butter and get in this pan to get melted. And if you see in that pan in the bag, that is my leftover veggies that I had from when I made our sandwiches at lunch, that I just left them in there, and I will use them in this dinner. And today I'm going to make like a seafood pasta with my garlic herb butter, and it's kind of like it's a garlic parmesan sauce. And I'm going to go ahead and put this over pasta. I had my son lift up that big pot because I just couldn't do it. So we're going to go ahead and get that water heated up and boiling before I add the pasta in. And in here I have a pound of shrimp, or 2 pounds of shrimp, and a pound of scallops. And I'm going to go ahead and get these cooked up, and then I will remove it from the pan, and then I will go ahead and cook up the garlic parmesan chicken that I have. And I am using that garlic parmesan chicken is one of those marinated meats that I made a while ago to stick in the freezer, that makes some quick and easy meals when it's already marinated, and all you have to do is cook it up. It makes it quick and easy. So my son he doesn't mind shrimp, but he's not really a seafood person. So I want to make sure that not only am I making seafood, I'm going to make some chicken for him as well, because he will definitely prefer the chicken over the seafood. And then I'm going to go ahead and cook some broccoli on the side. Now I'm going to first go ahead and steam this. I'm going to put a little bit of broth, as you can see there. I'm going to put some vegetable broth in here, and then I'm going to go ahead and steam it in the microwave for about 5 or 6 minutes, and then I will dump out that broth that I put in there. Then I will put a dollop of my herb butter and then some salt and pepper, and then I will put it back in the microwave to finish up for maybe about 2 minutes or so. But that's really all that I do with when I'm making side vegetables. If I'm not roasting them and I'm just doing them in the microwave, I will just use my herb butter and some salt and pepper. Simple but delicious. Okay, now that the seafood is done, I'm going to go ahead and scoop the seafood out and put it in my bowl back here because I don't want it to overcook. Seafood does not take a long time at all to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and dump all of this into this back bowl, and then I'm going to go ahead and cook up my chicken. And I have quite a few chicken thighs, so I'm going to do them in batches. I don't care if I have leftovers because it will be eaten probably the next day for lunch. Somebody will make a sandwich with it or just have some leftover chicken. But chicken is always something that's perfect to have leftovers because you can add it to salads. You can put it on, uh, 2 pieces of bread and have a sandwich or a bun or something like that. So then I'm dumping all that seafood liquor in there as well because you definitely want to save that for the sauce whenever we make the sauce a little bit later. But here I'm going to go ahead and dump in my some of my chicken thighs. I think I start out with putting them all in there. Oh, here's a little bit more of my herb butter first. But I dump all of the chicken in there and realize, wait, that's way too much. So I'm just gonna, and I end up taking a couple out so I can easily just cook up a few at a time, and then I just do it in 2 separate batches. There is my creamy Parmesan chicken. Garlic Parmesan chicken, that's what it's called. Okay, so then I just dump it all in there and then try and get all of those herbs and the sauce out of there. And what I realized is once I did this that there wasn't quite enough sauce to just use that. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and make up like an additional sauce. So it's kind of like a creamy Parmesan / Alfredo because I'm going to put a little bit of milk in it along with the liqueur. And I dumped in the rest of that vegetable stock that I had that I used to steam the broccoli in. And I added just a little bit of cream cheese, like maybe like 3 ounces of cream cheese. And then I'm adding some onion powder and garlic powder, salt and pepper. And then I went ahead and added those veggies in from earlier. Now I'm having my son help me pour. I want to get that seafood liquor in that as well so I can get it heated up to a boil, and then I can add a little bit of a cornstarch slurry in it so it thickens up and makes a really nice thick creamy cheesy sauce. And I will be adding about a half a cup of Parmesan cheese as well. I'm not sure if I added it in already, but I do have some fresh Parmesan cheese that I'm also going to add to this sauce. Give it a little taste. Tastes pretty yummy. And here I went and got some of my milk to put in there that I use for cooking. And I think that was the rest. That was the Parmesan cheese that I put in there. It was a half a cup. Nope, there it is. And then once this comes up to a boil, it's going to thicken up because I put that cornstarch slurry in there. Gave it another taste, added a little bit of salt. And we're going to go ahead now and add the seafood back in, and then I add the chicken in, then add the noodles in, and it ends up being a little bit too much for that pot. Silly me, but you know how it is. Guess I should have used my my 16-inch skillet instead of my 14-inch skillet, because it makes it a little bit difficult to give this a good stir. And hey guys, if you're still here, thank you so much. And hey, remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below.